What's up, guys? I'm still not 100% better from my cold, but it is getting there. My voice might be like waning in and out every now and then, but it is a lot better than before. I don't sound like I'm decaying as much as I was before. Rapid decaying, that is. That was a horrible joke. I'm sorry. I'm still on like some like Advil and stuff, so I'm gonna use that as an excuse to why I'm absolutely not funny and why I should just stop trying. But anyway, so today's video is going to be on Athena, the Titan of Revenge. This was spoiled, I believe, yesterday, and well, today I guess for people, yesterday for some of us. Anyway, so this card's absolutely insane. It's a 12 Apostle, which is pretty cool because we haven't seen all of them yet. I believe we haven't seen all of them yet. I think we're like pretty close to getting there, unless this is the last one. I'll do my research and I'll get back to you guys. But it's a 12 Apostle, so that's really cool. And she has Swiftness, which is of course necessary on every single red card nowadays, because if you don't have Swiftness and you're red, nobody wants to play you, is what it kind of seems like, you know. But I think that's great that it has Swiftness, because this card wouldn't be as good if it didn't. Her activate effect is whenever, well, her continuous effect is whenever damage is dealt to you, put 2+1/+1 counters on this card, making her a 9/9, and she can pay 1 red, which is her activate effect. And of course this is a once per turn, and this card deals 100 damage to each player. This card automatically became the best target for Flame King Shout, except for other scenarios where maybe you might want the a little bit more damage added on to a specific resonator with Snow White. But just typically having a 7/7 3-drop is pretty big. I think like the biggest ever played 3-drop at one point was like Guardia, which was 8/8, and it didn't deal nearly as much damage as this card is, nor did it have Swiftness. So to have a 7/7 3-drop that's this powerful nowadays is going to make a really big impact on the meta. I can see this card, it doesn't particularly have to be played in multiples. I can even see just one of it being teched in most fire decks and just be searching it off Urukik and trying to push for game. What makes this card so insane is all the different situations you are able to use it. If you do use something like Flame King Shout and wipe like a board of like blue-green monsters like Cheshire and stuff in like an Alice World kind of ish deck, and you swing for 7, if they immediately can't deal with this card next turn and you declare an attack and they don't have a blocker or they decide not to block, if you then start using her activate effect in multiples the turn after, assuming you Flame King Shouted on turn 3, and got 7 in, that's 700 damage of course, and then you would recover, swing again, you have 4 stones now, possibly a max of 4 stones, and if they don't declare a block, you can use 4 activates, which is essentially 400 damage to you and them, and then 800 plus on Athena herself because you've taken an increment of 104 times. So that's +8/+8, she becomes 15/15, which is Menasophily stats, which is really insane. You've already hit them for 700, so that's a total of 22, plus the 400 you just dealt to activate that effect on her, which makes it 26, which is just like they're left with 1400, which is in the range of so much. Like that's like a Lancelot and like something small in a Thunder, or just anything that you can push for damage. That's a Lancelot with Amino Habakiri. So I think this card is just really, really great. It's an amazing finisher in red. I personally would probably play either just 1 or 2. I wouldn't like really play like 4 of these or anything, even if I'm playing like a rush deck. I was slightly more impressed with Pricia, just on the fact alone that a lot of people I think are underestimating how good her damage effect is, because of the whenever she sends to the graveyard she deals 500 damage to your opponent, and if you have 4 Pricias and 4 Thunders, that's game. So not that you're gonna get through all 4 of those, but I mean, well, all 4 of each, so all 8 copies of those cards in your deck. But if you just think about it generally, I mean, that's not counting any outside damage from anywhere else, no life that your opponent might be paying with Moonshades, which of course is going to be really big next format. So I think that's, you know, something to take into consideration as well. The only healing card I think that's going to see play is Foment of the World Tree, which is only 800. So even though that kind of counters you, I mean, if Pricia gets in her 700, that's already, you know, that heals out the window over there. So I think Athena's still absolutely amazing if you don't have green for Pricia. She's definitely going to be a must, and I'd probably play this alongside Pricia. I would just really focus on heavy amounts of Pricia instead. But like, besides just the effect, I think the 2 red and 1 colorless, I know it would have been a little too strong if it was 1 red and 2 colorless, just off the fact that it would be too splashable in all kinds of decks. But I don't think it would have been too bad to have a splashable 7/7 with Swiftness in an outside deck, because assuming Assuming you're using this in a deck that doesn't have too much red, it means you can't use the burn effect kind of willy-nilly or with like a bunch of stones. So if you can't use the burn effect, which is the most important part of this card, you get a splashable swiftness monster, which I've been kind of wishing all other colors had. I know that might take away from red, but red has a lot of like, you know, stuff like thunder and split heaven and earth. It already has so much to it with like Lancelot and stuff that like nobody's really likes using Lancelot in a deck that doesn't have full fire, because hitting 2 redstones isn't guaranteed by turn 2, and a late game Lancelot is still really good, but nowhere near as good as it could be. So if this was 1 red and 2 colorless, I would have really liked how splashable it is just for the swiftness 7/7, but I can see why they didn't do that. They probably wanted to play it safe and make sure that this doesn't go off in like crazy decks or decks that just want to be able to like use too many colors. Kaguya would actually probably be able to run this if it was like that because of the moon shades, but I wouldn't use this in like Kaguya or anything with the way it is now. But other than just like the effect and the stats, art wise, I think this card is absolutely beautiful. I can't wait. And we saw like the full art on Twitter, I believe it was Matt Cosmore put it up on 6H Gaming, but I mean, it's totally different to see something online. Even when you see like a stamp online and then you're holding it, it changes so much. And I can't wait to see this card in full art. It just looks absolutely beautiful. You can see kind of in the bottom right, kind of where it says each player, and right above the "you've got" quote, there's like horses in the background that are like riding alongside of her, like other knights or whatever. So I'm thinking maybe those might look really, really good in full art. You'll be able to kind of notice them more. The sky weirdly looks really cool. I don't know if anyone's played Guild Wars 2 before, but I played that for a little bit, and there was a sword in that game called Sunrise, and it was like one of the hardest swords to get. It was a great sword, and if you looked at the sword from different angles, you can see like the sunset slash sunrise in the sword. Like you literally, like if you moved your camera around the sword, it would be as if you were like looking into different angles of the sky, and the colors of the way it looks behind her in the sky really reminds me of that sword. So I love that it's not just like bright, it's just very like mixture of like almost like the faintest amount of light breaking through all these like clouds, and I think it actually like looks just really great. Her weapon and shield look absolutely amazing. The flavor text of "come on, hit me with everything you've got," it's of course Skill App is saying this, and it's, you know, interesting because of course she gains +2/+2 counters whenever you take damage, which is actually insane too. This effect isn't until the end of turn, so the longer Athena stays alive, like that's just getting scarier and scarier. So if you can even maybe like play red-green and you are playing a deck that has like Pricia and Athena, and you can like use a ramp kind of engine, like maybe like Elvish Priest, to produce green just to pay for the colorless of this, and then just summon it on turn 2 and swing, like over time it's going to get really, really strong, and it just forces your opponent to switch their turn from being whatever they want to freely play into having to deal with Athena because she's just going to get too much damage in. And I think that's really cool. Like they've been really interesting with red. A lot of people think that red's too strong, but if we didn't have cards like Lancelot, and we didn't have cards like Snow White back when she was a little, I think when she first got released, she was like amazing, and it was kind of like really frustrating to have someone turn 2 Lancelot you and then turn 3 Snow White you, or turn 3 Flame King Shadow into Snow White. It was like really, really hard to take. But if we didn't have these kind of cards in red, it would just be really, really lackluster. I mean, like Guinevere, if Guinevere didn't exist, people always complain that, you know, she provides too much recovery for red, and it's like, well, yeah, like red's just very rushy. If it was that easy to deal with their rush and just leave them with nothing, of course nobody would have an issue with it. And the way it is now is very, you know, it's really, really strong, and it pushes for a lot of damage, but you have to be able to, like, that's their form of control. Like red forces you to play your turns differently so that you can't freely play the way you wish you could. And the same way you would use green to Zeke's a card, or use the new counter that's coming out for Kaguya, the 1 white and green that just cancels anything. The same way you would use that to alter your opponent's turn or game state, red does the same thing, but by making your opponent have to deal with their creatures instead of having to either go to face or freely set up their combos. And I really like that playstyle. I mean, a lot of people I've been talking to recently about Moonlit Savior don't particularly agree with having a control meta because they hate how long the matches can go on for. Typically, like, it doesn't really last more than the game one because of how just ridiculously slow like the games go by because of how slow control is. But personally, for me, I think I've mentioned this before too, but I'd much rather have a very slow game one and have a really good match of a game one to determine who the victor of the entire match is, rather than play an aggro format where the die roll is a lot more important, and if the aggro person wins the die roll, I can't particularly always catch up. Not that you can't, it's just it makes it a lot harder in an aggro format to come back from that. And if you know we do get to we finish game one really fast because they're playing aggro and they like burn you down, and then you side game two, so it's a lot slower. And if you can't get to the end of game two, the game one player just wins knowing that they have the game one win because they were able to kind of drag out game two, and then you go into time, and if you can't kill them because you're playing a non-aggro deck in 3 turns, then you know, you just lose the entire match. So I'd rather know that I lost the match because my game one was really good and I got outplayed, and I don't even have to see game two to like worry about it, than go to game two and wonder if I'm going to make it to game three. And if I do make it to game three, we're most likely not going to be able to finish each other off and just have a draw. Like, draws are the worst in tournaments. Like, I'd much rather just take a loss or, you know, move on with my time, take what I can from that one game and not even worry about having to side, than, you know, play in this like weird semi getting to the end of game two, sometimes getting to the beginning of game three format. So I'm actually really excited for all these rush cards. I think it adds a lot to the game. Plus, I'm most likely going to play Kaguya 1.0, and people know how crazy I've been about that. Like, when I made the stealth deck originally, a lot of people seem to like it, and Merlin kills Athena with his -7/-7, Executioner kills Athena, so I'm not worried about this card at all. I have so many answers to it, so I'm hoping people play this against me because I'll have, you know, a million ways to kill it, which is pretty fun. So which I'll probably do a deck profile for that too. So for anyone that did like the Stealth Kaguya deck, a deck profile for that will be coming sometime maybe after the 5 new rulers, because I don't want to take away from them. And the 5 new rulers will have deck profiles coming too, of course. For anyone who's like new to the channel and doesn't know that I do them like immediately after the set drops, I always do them within like the first 2 weeks, so it should be there after the set drops. Just for a reminder, CoreTCG sale is till Thursday, so if you guys haven't picked up any of the Dual Stone Altar Arts or Elvish Priest or anything that's on their sale, if you guys need any specific cards like from boxes, they have boxes for sale too. I have a promo code in the description for like these custom Scorepads that we have, but you can also still use the TopLoader one. I did like one before where you got a TopLoader if you just spent like at least 20 bucks or something. So if you want the TopLoader instead, it's like a forcible TopLoader. If you want that instead of the Scorepad, just follow the same descriptions as what the Scorepad has you do in the description below, but just put TopLoader instead of the Scorepad name. You'll be able to figure out what I'm saying when you just read the description. It's just kind of like in the comment section of their checkout. So yeah, if you guys still want some sale items, that's still going on until Thursday. Thursday, I think midnight will be the last chance you get. It might be Wednesday midnight, but I'm pretty sure it's Thursday midnight. And then if you guys haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do, because I have a ton of more videos coming sometime soon. And if you guys have any questions or comments, leave that in the comment section below too. I love hearing from you guys, and I almost always try to respond to everyone. If I don't, it's because I work ridiculously long hours, and you know, by the end of the day I might miss it or something, but I typically respond to almost everyone. So if I haven't before, sorry, try leaving another message. I'll try to get back to you, and I'll definitely catch you guys next time.